Oh, good evening, Oh, that's a bit loud. Turn that down a bit. I might need a volume reduced on that slightly. Yeah. So I'm turning it down, but it's still quite loud. Hopefully that's a bit better. Yes, it is. So sorry about that. Someone had turned that up a great deal. Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meeting of the Democracy and General Purposes Committee, 26th of March. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if the fire alarm does go off, Democratic Services officers will establish whether there is A, a major problem, and B, a safe route out of the building, and hopefully will let us know what it is. May I ask everyone who has mobile phones to either have them turned off or on silent mode so as not to disturb the meeting, and also to use the microphone for speaking and turn it off when you've finished. This meeting will be webcast for the assembled masses and public who follow our council meetings with bated breath. Now, Councillor Cook, I know you're coming towards the end of your county career, but levity is not necessarily the right response yet. Later in the meeting, maybe. Is anyone else likely to be recording this meeting for posterity or their own pleasure? I ask not to stop anyone, but simply so that we know whether that is taking place. No? In that case, I shall proceed with the substance of the meeting. Item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies? No? Good. That should mean we don't have any substitute members. Item 3, are there any urgent items? Thank you. Item 4, notification of visiting members. We don't have any visiting members of the council unless they're online. No. Disclosures by members and officers. Do we have any disclosures? Disclosures of lobbying. I have, I suppose, been lobbied in numerous ways on the community governance review. So I think I better declare. Yes. So I better declare that. Any other councillors? Yep. Item 7, to consider whether any item should be taken in private because of the possible disclosure of exempt information. I'm not aware of any exempt information this evening, so I propose to take all the items in public. Is that agreed? Thank you, members. Minutes of the meeting of the 29th of January, which are on pages 1 to 4. Seems an incredibly long time ago. Are there any amendments to these minutes? No, in that case I shall sign them in due course. Item 9, presentation of petitions, if any. I don't think we have any petitions, unless I've missed something. Question and answer session from local residents. I'm delighted to say that we do indeed have a question from Councillor Cresswell of Linton Parish Council. If you'd like to come forward, press the middle button at the bottom.
Thank you, Chair. Bernard Cresswell, Chair of Linton Parish Council. Thank you for this opportunity. At the last meeting on the 29th of January, a report on the Community Governance Review of the Maidstone urban area was published, which suggested a larger town council incorporating surrounding wards and parishes. Concerns were raised that this could lead to the abolition of some parish councils, and a press article further highlighted these issues. Since the publication of the report, those in committee circles have expressed differing implications and outcomes. My question is, can the Chair clarify and record in the minutes of the meeting what the current position on this matter actually is?
Thank you, Councillor Cresswell. That's a very good and important question. To an extent, the council's been put in an unfortunate position because when we considered the community governance review previously, we were expecting to be a lot further on with the matter. Our busy democratic services staff were not expecting to have to deal with a county council election at this time, so we were anticipating moving ahead with this review fairly promptly. As you can understand, gifted though our staff are in democratic services and electoral services, they can't handle the work of the community governance review and the county elections at the same time. So the matter has been delayed. It would have been a lot clearer by this stage in normal course of events. For clarity and for the record, it is not the intention of the Borough Council to or at least I don't think it will be the intention of the Borough Council to approach a community governance review with any particular ordained outcome. The point of a community governance review is for the community is plural I suppose, to actually decide for themselves, and the Borough Council does not have the legal power to impose a solution. I think some confusion was caused by the understandable confusion because since the local boundary, the last boundary review, many of the borough wards have names that incorporate parishes. And the report front page that was on the agenda was actually referring to borough council wards like Lewes and Linton, but it could, I can see why Lewes and Linton parish councils, for example, or Coxheath and Hunton parish councils would assume that the issue was addressed to them. The indicative map that was also possibly caused some of the hairs to start running was simply an indication of what the current defined urban area is based on the local plan boundary. That is not an aspiration for what the boundaries of the town council, if such a body were to be proposed as a result of this community governance review, would potentially be. However, having said that, the next stage is the setting up of a working group of councillors, one per political group, to establish the terms of reference for the community governance review. That is a technical job, and it will set out the basis on which the consultation will go forward. So I'm speaking for what, in regard to what the position is now. That terms of reference meeting group would normally have taken place, but because of the county elections as cause of postponement, it hasn't. Once that has taken place, that will be stage one. The stage two, which will be a very full consultation with all parishes, community groups and residents of Maidstone, and any proposals that come forward will be based very much on what the residents say. I hope that's a bit clearer, but it's a lengthy answer, I understand, because it is a complicated subject.
Thank you. Could I follow up with one question?
A supplementary, yes.
Thank you. The concern around the parish councils, and I wondered if there's a reason as to why any representatives from the parishes weren't included.
I think purely because the terms of reference working group, it was literally going to have basically one meeting, possibly two meetings, just to decide what the borough council's initial technical approach to the consultation would be. That we thought that it would be more appropriate for all parish councils to be directly involved in the consultation process. It would be possible to change that if the committee wants to, but when we discussed it, well, the view was that the terms of reference was pretty technical and procedural in terms of the county council, borough council's own internal workings, and wouldn't particularly be a useful exercise for the chairman of CALC or other representatives to be involved with. I mean, I'm not wedded to that position, but that was what the committee decided at the time. There was no attempt to hide anything. And to be honest, if we, you know, that discussion will not be particularly secret. Thank you for allowing us to clarify the matter, Councillor Cresswell. I'm very grateful for your questions.
Thank you, Chair.
We now move on to the committee work programme, item 12. There's not much left for the remainder of the year, but did you want to say anything on this, Ryan, or Angela come to that?
So there aren't any items on the work programme. However, when we get to the relevant item on the community governance review, you'll see that there is a decision to come to this committee in June. So obviously that would form part of next year's work programme.
Thank you, that's what I thought. Any questions, comments? No, it is what it is at this stage. Right. Move on to reports of outside bodies, and we do indeed have a report. Thank you, Councillor Jeffrey. I think it's yours. Page 5.
Thank you. I'm being a good boy. I'll put my annual report in. Not much to say. It's a lovely committee that I'm on. Well, board actually I'm on. We've planted some trees, and we've got a Gold Wilder Kent Award, which I'm rather pleased about, and congratulate colleagues for getting that. Happy to take questions.
Thank you very much for submitting the report. Are there any questions, members? Councillor Gooch.
Thank you, Chairman. It's not so much a question, just a comment. I opened my committee papers and my first reaction was, oh, isn't that nice? What a pleasant surprise. A, there's an informative report, but B, look at the colour and its birds and its nature, and the sun was shining and all was at peace with the world at that time. But I just wanted to say thank you very much. It's just good to see something positive, the way that the world is going at the moment, and I just think it's lovely to just bang those, those images right at the front of the report. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Gooch, and I'm really pleased to have brought peace to the world.
So how many parrots do you actually have at the Allington? Is that report noted? Thank you very much. I think I better submit some of mine at the next meeting. Right, move on to the meat of the evening, perhaps, which is Community Governance Review, Maidstone Urban Area Update, page 7 onwards. Mr. O'Connell, is this your report?
Good evening, members. Councillor Gooch, I apologise for the lack of pictures on the front page of this report. I will try harder in future. As the Chairman's already outlined in the response to the question received tonight, the main thrust of this report is to update you because the Kent elections are going ahead, and the original resolution from this committee was subject to confirmation on the status of the KCC election. So with those going ahead, the work has been re-timetabled, which is the indicative timetable that you'll see at 2.3. It is an indicative timetable because everything can shift around until the terms of reference are actually agreed, published, and then we have the 12 months to complete the review. But even once that happens, we do have discretion to move things around within the body of that timetable, as long as we're hitting the overall deadlines that we need to meet. In addition to that coming in front of the committee for you to note, I'll just highlight that following the feedback from the last committee, in terms of communicating with parishes, and obviously we've had a question here tonight as well. We did attend a meeting of CALC and respond to numerous questions that had arisen, and I've received multiple contacts from different parishes to answer their questions, and I'm always open to responding to any questions that parishes may have or may wish to raise as we go through. And lastly, one of the things that has happened is that the membership of the working group has been confirmed, and that's set out in 2.4. So the plan is that after the elections are done and after the annual meeting, for us here, we'll be hitting the ground running in terms of meeting this quite ambitious timetable in order to make sure that we are doing everything in plenty of time, given the potential changes that are ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. O'Connell. It's a very comprehensive report and set out on pages 10 and 11 of the agenda, and hopefully we'll be able to keep to roughly that timetable. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you. I just, in light of the earlier question from Councillor Cresswell, I'm guessing there is currently no opportunity to expand the working group. That's a question. And if there isn't, is there an opportunity to provide, say, an observer status to a parish representative, just on the basis of being inclusive, really?
Would you like to answer that before we take further questions?
So I think we need to recognise that we're at a preliminary stage at the moment with the Community Governance Review. So the current purpose of the working group is to assist officers in the technical formulation of the review before we start it. After that, and when we consider the terms of reference, when we do the work with the working group, we can absolutely consider what involvement we have for parishes during that. But we do need to recognise that we are following the national guidance on community governance reviews, and it is the council as the principal authority that has to act as almost an independent arbiter on what the community is saying for this review. And so we wouldn't want to risk being seen to favour one parish over another potentially, for example. So more than happy to hold events, to involve parishes as much as we can, to make sure that the two planned areas of consultation that we'll be running with the entire community, but that we can have a bit focused on parishes. We will absolutely focus on that with the working group as we form the terms of reference and we establish the basis on which we go forward, because we're absolutely keen to involve parishes throughout this process and make sure we hear them, but we do also need to listen to all potentially affected parishes and all potentially affected communities within Maidstone, particularly as we have a large, obviously, unparished area that we need to listen to as well. So we will need to consider that together.
Councillor Gooch was next, and then Councillor Cook, and Councillor Simons.
Thank you, Chairman. Two things. Can you just tell me on page 10 on the key actions, just remind me, what does LG and PIHA stand for? I haven't come across that before.
Local Government and Public Involvement in Health Act 2007. It's referenced in the legal box in the table on the cross-cutting issues and implications.
Thank you for pointing out the error of my ways, Mr. O'Connell. And in fact, I was going to thank you very much indeed for the way that you field parishes' questions. It's really helpful, and I speak as a parish councillor. It's very helpful to know that there is somebody at the Borough Council that you can either email, well, preferably email, or phone, I was going to say, to ask a question and actually get an answer. And that's extremely helpful and much appreciated. I was going to say it, but as you picked me up on that, I might not. Sorry, I jest. And this is a serious matter, but the way the world is, we need a bit of humour.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Chairman. If I could just come back on what Brian was saying with regard to parish council involvement. I actually was going to raise this myself as well. I think it's an important point. And I do take on board very strongly that each parish is its own body but could we not, as and I think it should be as an observer, not a member of the working party, but provide an opportunity for a representative from CALC, who are the sort of the overarching body that work with all of the parish councils, to attend the working group as an observer. I just think it takes away this potential stigma of doing things about them without them. And I think we also need to make it very, very clear that nothing's going to happen to any parish council on an individual basis without their full engagement and involvement in that decision. So I think there's two things there, Chairman. I'd like just to, if there's a way of taking that on board, I think it would be a good thing to do.
Right, to take the second point first, clearly, even if the Borough Council were insane enough to want to, a community governance review can't be done without the consent of the community. As I understand it, and I'm just about to check this with the officers, the guidance wouldn't necessarily prohibit an observer coming along to observe the initial meeting. So if we could facilitate that, we'll have a look and see if we can. Mr. O'Connell, do you have a reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, we can look at it and we'll see. We can speak to CALC and we can see what we can do in terms of having an observer at the group.
I'm thinking about inviting the chairman of CALC to attend in that capacity to attend.
I'm just checking that it's in line with the guidance. If it is, I don't see why we could.
The guidance doesn't go into that much detail to prevent.
Yeah, I thought it. I think we can do it. Yeah. So, provided. I just need to check. Does anyone have any violent objections? Otherwise, I think we should probably do that.
Sorry to be a pain, Chairman. If we're so intent on being completely objective and transparent, it would appear then that we should invite the chairman of the Kent Association of Local Councils rather than the chairman of the Maidstone branch, to make sure that we are completely, if you like, distanced. A suggestion, not an insistence. For those of us who are parishes, if you say CALC, we tend to think of our Maidstone branch. But if that's what you meant, excellent, thank you.
I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for that. We'll see what they say. I mean, it will give us the ability to say accurately say we're being transparent, but it would remove any particular local parish bias. So yes, I think there is a lot to be said for asking the chairman of the county association whether they or the vice chairman would be willing to attend. Okay, moving on. Anything else on the report? No. So, Councillor Sands, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm used to being missed out on this side of the room, but can I just say that I think really we could have had that discussion very early in the previous discussion. I think there was a number of members that actually wanted that to actually happen, and I think that we've sort of missed the boat a little bit and perhaps got a little bit of bad PR, which we didn't mean to have, and the officer was certainly done awful lot to try and get rid of that, but I think we could have saved ourselves an awful lot of hassle by just doing it in the first place, which I think a number of us mentioned. So perhaps next time, let's just bite the bullet. Let's invite, as we've done tonight, the proper way for, for the full disclosure of what we're doing. It's not really a problem, so let's do it. Thank you.
I think your point is well made. What I wasn't anticipating, I don't think anyone was anticipating, was the major hiatus that we had, and we expected to have done that meeting and be on to the actual consultation. But given that we have had this hiatus, a slight rethink is in order, so that's fine. Right, back to page 7. This report is essentially for noting, just a progress update, but we have made a suggestion about which will be minuted, about inviting the chairman or vice chairman of the county association to the meeting of the working group. It's a report with that amendment duly noted. Councillor Cook, did you want to add something?
No, I think
waving.
I'm very happy to leave it in the hands of the officers. I think we all know what we're talking about, and I think it's nice to have consensus across the floor. This is the right way to do business, so that's good.
Okay, thank you very much. That's duly noted then, I think. All those in favour of noting the report with the amendment? Thank you very much, members. Right, on to a happy story. I think this is a happy story. Item 15, creation of a youth advisory board, pages 14 to 20. Olivia, you're presenting this report. Thank you very much, Councillor Cresswell.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members. So this report has been produced following the Cabinet's consideration of the voting age to 16 motion and the decision made from that to explore the creation of an advisory board. The views that the Cabinet expressed at that meeting have been taken into account in producing this report. Having conducted some research into other youth forums across Kent, the recommendation to the committee is that Model C be agreed as the Youth Advisory Board model. This model provides the most flexibility to the board's operation and provides opportunities for the board's members to explore issues of importance to them, whilst providing a consultative function for the council on matters where appropriate. The next steps have been outlined in points 7.1 and 7.2 of the report, and these will take some time to facilitate to ensure proper engagement with local schools. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for the report. Councillor Cook, you indicated, I don't know whether it was a statement or a question, but fire away.
Yeah, I just think this is an interesting item. Clearly, Kent has a youth advisory group at the moment. Young people's voices are incredibly important. There is a youth county council. The children, or the young people, I should say, who are elected to that forum. It's normally done through the schools. We have a local children's partnership group that Maidstone Borough Council will play an important part on through the community safety arrangements, and there is a local YAG that operates out from Infozone under the auspices of KCC. We are here trying to reinvent the wheel. And basically duplicate something that already exists. Now, maybe this is what people's views are to put this into place ahead of the local government reform that's coming down, when all of these things will be put together under a single umbrella. I just think that where something clearly already exists, and provision is there for that very important thing. The voice of the young person is incredibly important, and we do need to make sure that the forums and the provision is there. What's more important, actually, finding a way for this council to actually hear the voice that's already there and is being voiced, if I could put it that way. And I think that's something that we should be looking at, rather than trying to set up a new structure which would be on a very time-limited basis as best. So I thank the officers for the recommendation as chairman of the Maidstone Local Children's Partnership Group. I note what you're trying to do.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Councillor Jeffrey and then Councillor Sams.
So I think this report is excellent. Whilst I note Councillor Cook's comments about the Kent Youth County Council, my daughter was on it many years ago. We don't have something that is local to Maidstone in the way that you have for Kent. So I think this is the right thing to do. It was widely supported in all the aspects were supported in previous discussions. So I think we should just move ahead with option C and get on with it. We have only got a couple of years, 3 years maybe, of Maidstone Borough left. So let's use them wisely.
Point of order is that I think what Councillor Jeffrey just said was flawed and incorrect. He stated that there is no such thing in Maidstone. There is a Maidstone YAG that already exists.
Sorry, that's not a point of order, that's a point of discussion and debate. Points of order should be directed to procedural irregularities or procedural motions, not debating points. And you know that. Councillor Sams.
Oh dear. I expect, like Councillor Jeffrey, my daughter was in a youth parish council, same sort of thing, but more than 20 years ago. And I suppose that the only thing that I dislike about this is the language of this report, in as much as I don't have a problem with going forward, like you suggested, but why can't it be a youth council? Why is it, because they have this other language? Because that's what it would be. It's a youth council. It's a load of youngsters coming together to form a council to make decisions. I think that if we're a Maidstone Borough Council, that we should at least give them the decency of calling it a youth council. That's my first point. And the second point is that I know that language to some isn't that important, but it does rile me significantly, and it would probably rile some youngsters as well to read this report and see it's all about chairman, vice chairman. And if we want to encourage young people, especially young ladies, to take this up, then for heaven's sake, can't we get the language a little bit more, so when they do look at it, they think actually we're being taken seriously? So here's two small points. Can we change the name and perhaps change the language a little bit in future? Thank you.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, if such a body were to be established, that perhaps they should at that point consider whether they wish to rename it or rename their officers. I mean, I know in terms of the traditional language, it's my fault. I was pretty much the person who insisted that the council kept its old-fashioned, in some people's views, naming conventions. Having said that, I don't think there's anything that, if this were to be established, I don't think there's anything that would prevent said body changing it to convener or something, which is a nice neutral term, which is the terminology used in Scotland, for example, and I like that word actually. In terms of, I do take your point, Councillor Cook, and no one meant to imply any disrespect to the local youth advisory group which is associated with Kent County Council. My personal view is that it does some good work, but it is associated with Kent County Council, and what we're looking at here is how we manage to get advice and input for Maidstone Borough Council from a sometimes hard to reach or hard to have listened to, perhaps is the better way of putting it, demographic. I remember a few years ago when a young lad got up a petition about the removal of the tree outside the town hall, and he came along, and the council's response was, "Oh, you're not 18, you can't present a petition." You know, that was not very helpful, was it? So I think, yes, it's not a perfect situation, and we as a borough council may have a time limited situation, but there's a lot of things. There's a lot going to take place between now and whatever happens eventually with the government's timetable when they finally do eventually get around to local government reorganisation, which at the current rate could be 2 or 3 years longer than we anticipate. I wouldn't be surprised. So I think there is a job to be done, and we, in many areas of the council's work, and we shouldn't be shy of carrying on with our work just because we may not be here in a few years' time. So I'm going to support the project, but take on board Councillor Sams's caveats that at some point the young people themselves may wish to change the names and terminology that they're being used. And I'll take Mrs. Gooch if she's indicating that she hasn't spoken yet, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to show up my ignorance now because I didn't realise, or I'd forgotten that there was a youth advisory group operating through the info zone, and I'm ashamed of myself. However, could we not invite a representative from that youth advisory group to sit on the youth forum? I mean, just to show that there is a link there, and I rather suspect, out of sheer ignorance, Councillor Cook, I would imagine that the things that our youth forum would look at would probably have a different approach or interest to the info zone, simply because the role of the county council and the borough council are so different, although the roads problems do coincide. But emptying bins is something completely different, isn't it? And we wouldn't at this moment have any huge involvement in social services or education. So I think that they probably stand individually, but let's have one of their representative on, because I just didn't realise that. I'm surprised it wasn't picked up in the report. Thank you.
To respond to any of the comments, or would Olivia like to respond at some point to any of the comments?
So I was just going to say we can link the two comments that were made relating to the name of the group and the fact that the county already has established bodies that cover youth. Because part of the point of labelling it as a youth advisory board and looking at it as giving it scrutiny powers, as close to that as we can get it, is that we are looking to integrate it into the structure here at this council, so that the youth advisory board, or whatever name we finally end up with, is meaningful and part of the consideration and decision-making process here at the council. So whereas those other bodies sit outside the council, by having a youth advisory board that we integrate as much as we feel we should, they can have a direct line into us in terms of their views on things, but also as a consultative body should, for example, the Cabinet wish to get the views of that group. And we can support it directly with our Review and Scrutiny Committee, as is set out in the report. So I think it's about bringing it into the fold of the Borough Council so that it can focus on what's important to the young people, and also so that it can have some meaning into this council. The point around could we have other representatives on it? Absolutely, we can explore that. There is a lot of work to do in terms of engaging with potential stakeholders, and obviously we've got to speak to the schools to see if we can get the membership, etc. But I do think that the idea is to try to integrate it as much as possible into this council and making it meaningful here. And also I think there is a point to be made around, it would be wonderful to hear the youth voices from the existing forums where relevant and applicable to the decisions that we're taking. But I don't think that's really happened over the last well, a period of time that I can remember. So maybe that's something we can look at as well, how we link into those groups and get their input. Thank you.
Mr. O'Connor, I'll bring you back the last time and then I want to move on.
Thank you, Chairman. And that was Ryan's last point. There was the point, exactly the point I was making earlier, that the arrangements with young people, which are Maidstone centric, not county centric, by the way. It's a Maidstone local children's partnership group. Infozone is and there is a separate organisation in each district throughout the whole county. So they are district orientated rather than county orientated. But Ryan's absolutely right. That voice is not finding its way into Maidstone Borough Council, but it is feeding in up through the county, and maybe we should be looking at that with the Maidstone manager who provides officer support to the young people that attend Infozone and attend the Maidstone YAG, which already exists. So in terms of asking somebody to attend your YAG when they already represent a YAG, it's a bit of, seems to me a little bit of a nonsense. And what needs to happen is that there needs to be some sort of coordinated approach whereby we make sure that the voice that is already there is heard where it needs to be heard, and it needs to be heard in this chamber from time to time. Thank you.
Councillor Sams.
Sorry to come back. I was just thinking about the Maidstone-centric part of it. Obviously, the Maidstone part is the town centre, but we've also got schools from wider. And I think one of the issues I think that has been a problem, might be a problem, is the fact that we might timetable some of this stuff in when young people can't actually get into town in time for something to happen. So can we arrange it so that we give every opportunity for those schools in the rural areas to actually get into town to actually do these things, and can that be borne in mind? Thank you.
I mean, the intention certainly is that schools across the borough would be contacted, and we are not, when we, admittedly, this, it is easy to sometimes think about when we're talking about Maidstone that we mean High Street Ward and East Ward, as it used to be in few neighbouring places, but the borough is a large and diverse place, and we need to actually make sure that we are approaching a wide range of representative groups. I think Councillor Cook makes some points that perhaps separately to this discussion we do need to pursue, and we will take note of those and pursue them, because clearly there has been some lack of, well, apparently there's been some lack of coordination, but we'll have a look into that and see how it's supposed to be working. But I do, very briefly, yeah.
My concern is that we make a decision to pursue option 3 this evening, which frankly, in light of your comments there, I think it needs to be taken back and reviewed and then brought back later with the opportunity for comments from the existing Maidstone YAG and the people that work with them, those young people. In the absence of that, what do we say to those young people? Your YAG doesn't matter anymore.
No, that is not what we're saying, but
So,
you raised some points about...
what's their role now?
They're part of Kent County Council's structure. I'm sorry, that's not... It's a local part of Kent County Council, as far as I know, established by Kent County Council. What we're talking about here is a board that would be part of the operation of this council, and I think those are two distinct things. and I strongly support the recommendation that this council should be looking at its own internal arrangements to represent young people. Having said that, I mean, you raised some valid points about how that local branch of the county youth council is operating or not with us, and we'll have to look into that, but it's a separate issue as far as I'm concerned. Councillor Gooch.
Why don't we just defer this? Mindful that we've all got different views, why don't we just defer it just for the sake of a short while? Or do you want to go, I mean, I'm just trying to be helpful.
I'm sorry, but this bit about the Maidstone YAG is a complete red herring. I'm bring back Mr. O'Connell in a minute, but it is a different organisation with a different purpose. We're talking about what we do with Maidstone Borough Council's internal consultation arrangements. Councillor Jeffrey.
Councillor English, I think you've just moved that we go with option 3, and I'd like to second that, and we've had a lot of discussion. I think we should move to the vote.
I think we should take Mr. O'Connell first. He did want to come back. Mr. O'Connell.
As 7.1 sets out, there is another report to come back to this committee at a later date with the model. So this just allows us to continue the work. So I think we should be making a decision on it here tonight so that we can go on and do that. And Councillor Cook, if you could provide us with the contact details for the Maidstone YAG, we can obviously speak to them as a stakeholder, because we include the fact we're going to be speaking to stakeholders here anyway, and we can obviously report back and include that in the report. Yeah.
We are not making a final shape, we're just looking to bring forward so on that, which is why I didn't want to defer it, because we'd effectively be deferring having the discussion. So it's been moved and seconded that we move forward with the discussion on option C. For sake of clarity, did you wish to raise a point on? Yeah. So those in favour of recommendation. Thank you. Those against? Abstentions? Thank you very much. One abstention. Thank you very much, members. Right. We now move on to item 16, members' access to information procedure rules, annual review. It's not as exciting as it sounds. Mrs. Woodham.
Thank you, Chairman. What an intro. So first of all, I'd just like to issue a correction to the table in Appendix 1. So there are actually 12 decisions in March made in public, and the total number should be 49 for collective decisions, which changes the overall figure to 73 decisions, of which 5 had information in private appendices. So I can confirm we have remained committed to transparency, and care is taken to put as much information in the public domain as possible. So we had no reports that were wholly Part 2. We do try and make sure there is a front-facing public report, and only exempt information is put in appendices when we have to, and officers are very clear on that. I've also received one councillor request for a previously exempt appendix to a past report, and I was able to release that with minor reductions following a review, just to keep members informed of where we're at. So this is just an annual opportunity for you to keep an eye on it and make sure we're applying the rules correctly, and I'm pleased to report that we are.
Thank you. This has been controversial in past years, but but I'm pleased to say that in the last couple of years it has become much less exciting, which is a good thing.
Yes.
In this context. Is that report noted with the minor amendment? Oh, sorry, Councillor Sams, question or comment?
I was just going to say that as someone who's had information that I can't say over many occasions, it's very assuring, this report. I'd just like to thank officers for perhaps a refreshingly new look at information and it coming forward. It's not always been an exact science, but I do appreciate the hoops that we put officers through to ensure that members get the information they need to be able to represent their residents. And I think that in the last year or so that has been refreshingly brighter, and yes, I'm pleased, so thank you very much.
Yes, please minute that. I think officers and members, going back to the constitutional review of infamous notoriety, have spent a lot of time trying to get this vexed subject sorted. So I think it's suffice to say that many more people are happier with the situation than they were a few years ago. So thanks to everyone, officers and members, for sorting this issue out insofar as it ever can be considered finally sorted out. Moving on to hopefully sorting something out, we come on to appointment of independent person, item 17, pages 30 to 34. Are you introducing this, Mr. O'Connor? You're having a busy evening.
I'm presenting this on behalf of Robin as the monitoring officer. Obviously the recommendation sets out essentially that the existing independent person have their appointment extended. The timings are that they would need to run that period from the 22nd of May 2025 to the 21st of May 2029. And by making this decision here tonight, it enables us to have this on the annual council meeting agenda on the 17th, so we can hit that timescale. And the main thrust of the reasoning is summed up in paragraph 2.4 of your papers, around the fact that there was a robust appointment process for the independent person originally, and the arrangements have worked well. So as such, it's proposed to extend it now. Thank you.
The report, Mr. O'Connor, are there any questions? As the report sets out, our current post holder has worked very well with our monitoring officers, and that is a very important relationship to have and to repose trust in. So it certainly ain't broke, so I propose we don't fix it. I therefore move the recommendation to reappoint our existing independent person, Mr. Alex Harrison. Yes, please. Thank you, Councillor Gooch. All those in favour? Thank you very much. That is unanimous, I'm pleased to say. And at that point, I close this meeting, which occasionally got more exciting than I thought it might.